my name. All right, so we can laugh about this, and it goes back to who's on second, what's on third or whatever. We go back to that type of thing. So, but it really is true that we are not the name of any. I went over this. I'll just review it. Even if it's upper lowercase, even if I sign in red ink here, I sign in red ink down at the bottom here, by colon. Okay, and I put autograph, under here, and I put some other things. If I sign here, and I put the words red, signed in red ink under here to let them know if it's photocopied, that's signed in red ink. All right, rubric is like what Joe was saying in the first part. It's an autograph, so we put the word autograph here. Or sometimes people like to put authorized autograph. Okay, and we have this here. Now, I put a hyphen in between my two given names, making it a proper noun, as per the style manual of the form manual of the United States. So they're understanding what we're saying here. And then I put colon. Sometimes one can do clan or family of, but even if you don't put that, the colon actually differentiates the family name. So the family name here is not my name. And I'll put C with a circle around it if it's copyrighted, and I have copyright on that. And then many times I will put under reserve or without prejudice. I explained that in the very first one. So we put that just in small words above. All right, I asked the question, is that me? Now, people have argued with me. That is you. I say, no, that's not me. That's ink. That's ink on a piece of paper. That's not me. If that's me, talk to it. See if it'll answer. It sounds silly. Go ahead.
Talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand. So talk to this and see if it'll answer. If it won't answer, then that's not me. Who is the living soul? Who is the spirit that has a soul, mind, and will and emotions, lives in this earth suit, this body? I go by me, okay? So, or I go by you, or I go by, right? Okay, so what is this? This is a one given appellation. And look up the word in the law dictionaries for yourself. One given. Why do I say one given? Because the two becomes one with a hyphen. It becomes one proper noun. Well, I'm not a noun. I'm not a name. I'm not even an appellation. I'm just signifying that this is an identifying title that differentiates one me with the other 6 billion me's in the world. It differentiates this me from another me that has the same name. There might be more than one John Bill Smith out there in the world. So now what they do is they'll put a number to indicate which is which, okay? Because if there's two of them, if there's two living souls that go by James Jones, they want to know which one is James Jones, this number or this number, all right? Yeah, Social Security number or some other identifying number that they might put on it. Okay, so any questions? Reggie, you had a question. What was the question?
I was referring to Rice's material. Should I start addressing the top right of the documents with my name from now on, and then the people are sitting in the document too?
If someone here is using a process done by one that goes by a certain name, in this case Rice, excellent. I've learned tons from the man. He's been a mentor, but that doesn't mean that I agree with everything he says or he agrees with everything I say. So if one is using that, go and talk with that living soul and see what that living soul thinks, and then determine for yourself. Don't think my thoughts. Think your own thoughts. Okay, this is what this is all about, is getting people to think their own thoughts. This is just a guideline. But you have to determine for your own life what you're going to think and what you're going to believe. And don't let someone else do your thinking for you. If they're standing in a pulpit, or if they're sitting in a king's bench somewhere called a judge's bench or whatever, don't let them do your thinking for you. You think for yourself. You only have one life to live. Why let someone else that do all your thinking for you? Think for yourself. Okay? And you may change your thinking. I've changed a lot of my thinking through the years. Any more questions? There was another question? Okay. Let's call up, Walt, do you have down, we're autographing, on the creditor side down at the bottom. We put the copy hyphen claim at the bottom right here with our seal, whatever the seal is, whether it's a thumbprint, whether it's a signet, ring, seal, whatever your seal is, I put my initials, all right?
It could even just be a squiggle mark.
It could be an X. That's your seal, fine. You put the word sealed above it. Capital S, lowercase e-a-l, all right? Turn it over and put the same thing on the bottom. If you want to put your full autograph at the bottom, fine, there's room to do that.
One thing I'd like to add, maybe I didn't have too in mind, but or basically when I do a signature on something, to say this per FM 2710.
Yes. So
Very important.
So we're going to refer again, like we were sharing with you. If it speaks truth to your heart, keep it. If it doesn't speak truth to your heart, take it and put it on the shelf and chew on it. If later on it still doesn't speak truth to your heart, take it and throw it out. Use what speaks truth to you and test whatever you want to test about this fictional system, the fictional system of this world that we live in, but not of. So it's all about language. It's do your own study. Get your own Blacksaw dictionaries. Get your own Bouvier's, or go and check all this out. All right. Go to the Civil Law Library, like I mentioned before, and go and check out Anderson's commentary on Uniform Commercial Code. It's what the system, the bar, the British accredited Regency agents, they refer to in terms of to see what is the commentary on this particular Uniform Commercial Code, all right? Which the Supreme Court of the Federal Corporation has ruled that is the supreme law of the land. But then you go to UCC 1-103.6 and see what Anderson says about that. There is something that's a higher law of the land. Pre-code law. What is pre-code law? You determine for yourself. I believe it's common law. I believe it's the golden rule. Treating others the way that you would want to be treated. All right? So you can put the date over here. Sometimes I'll put without prejudice over here on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, because when you put it over here, when you put it in the center, that's fine, that's neutral. You can put it over here if you want, but then that's saying that the creditor is operating. But remember what I said, the creditor and the debtor is all fiction. So when we sign in red ink, we're saying we're outside of this whole fictional world matrix. We're the creators of the whole world matrix, debtor and creditor. Good and evil. Asset and liability. That's all it's about. And what is going on when we have a system? We have a system that's got two sides. What's going on between evil and good? Good and evil, creditor and debtor. What's going on? Commerce, dispute, controversy, conflict. All right? But over here, the creditor is playing the game of staying in honor. Okay? Over here, they look at this as always in dishonor. Why do we accept things for value? Because we are even outside this, and a sovereign never gets into dispute, controversy, and conflict. It doesn't matter what the accuser is saying. We accept it for value. What does that mean? Thank you very much, I own that. Now I can redraft it and send it back to you and say, by the way, by the way, by the way. All right? It doesn't matter what the fiction's saying. You know, they can say anything in here. Don't get into dispute, controversy, and conflict and defend yourself. If you defend yourself, what do? You make yourself the defendant. The defendant is always the debtor. All right? And it's always in dishonor. So you see the movies, Last Samurai, talking about honor. You see the movies like, go ahead and give me some names of some movies. You see it out there all the time. Huh?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, or Braveheart, etc. They're talking about honor and dishonor. They're talking about good and evil. That's the whole world system. It's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But it doesn't bring life. The only thing that brings life is to live as a sovereign outside, and you can interact with your corporate fiction. Plug in if you want to, but realize that your body doesn't go into the fiction world of non-existence. The body is flesh and blood. Life is in the blood. And so we are always, always going to be the creators of this whole system. So we stay in honor all the time. All right, so now, okay, let's bring up.
If you put stamps on the document, you put their stamps upside down, does that tell them that they are in distress?
Says, country under siege. Yeah, the upside down flag is just a international symbol of distress.
I mean the stamps though on the document.
If you could just address that real quick, and then we'll.
That I don't have any knowledge of.
Put them on upside down.
I don't know. The girlfriends used to send them. That means I love you. I don't know. The slightest idea.
There's a movie with Robert Redford. He was a general in the military that he was incarcerated, and I forgot what the name of the movie was. Huh? The Last Castle. That talks about the flag being upside down. It's a sign of distress.
And then just rotated one time with martial law.
So if you cover this real quick, we can have Walter.
Very quickly, if you get to the library, pull up a book on the history of flags. Anybody know what that is? I hope I've drawn it fairly well. Dutch East India Company. When the Netherlands, Germany, England, what have you, were plying the seas in commerce, conquering colonies and what have you, the Dutch East India Company is a company. Usually it was the Chancellor of the Exchequer, which would be the Lord of the Treasury of the particular company or country, would get together and they would set up corporations to go out into commerce to bring back the wealth of the world, either by trade or by war or taking over colonies or establishing colonies or just by pillage. Bring back the wealth to the country that set up the corporation. So it didn't bring a direct effect back to the sovereign. When they established a colony that they financed, they put that colony in the upper left-hand side of the flag. This already getting worrisome to you? Yep. If you go into flag law and the history of flags, you'll find that Dutch East India banner with different portions quartered off here in the upper left, signifying different countries. There'll be eagles and there'll be various animals involved in there. There'll be elephants and camels and what have you. But the Dutch East India Company was the original corporation. And the rule is corporations have something only the tree of life should be giving you. And once you establish this thing, and this would actually work in your favor, corporations have immortality. Once they establish that thing, you're not dead. So once they create your name as a straw man, you're not dead. That's why they're going to come back after you're dead and go after your estate, your probate, whatever, and they continue to claim that name. So if corporations have immortality, then the Dutch East India Company is still immortally in control. They'd be basically the creditor. And what goes in the top left-hand side? Did it happen? 70-year mortgage. What happened in...
That's 1890.
What happened here? The North tried to repossess the South, and the South tried to repossess the North on behalf of the creditors.
That was at the end of the 70-year bankruptcy, international bankruptcy.
Yeah. Then
I didn't take control of the bank.
what happened there? They came in to get the money again. Well, we didn't have any. So they pulled in what we did have, didn't they? They got the gold and the silver. And because that wasn't enough, what were we paying for here? The 1917 Emergency War Powers Act got us into World War I. That was the Federal Reserve Income Tax Act. The Federal Reserve and income tax had to go together because the Federal Reserve allowed us to borrow money from the World Bank, ERS, Dutch East India, the Netherlands, Queen Juliana, Queen Beatrice of the Netherlands. They are in partnership with a guy by the name of Rothschild, and they own and there's something that has to do with the number 8. And if you'll take a look at their symbol out on a gas station, you'll see a shell, which means they're at the base of the, at least to me, this is what it symbolizes. They're at the base or the bottom of the Sea of Commerce, aren't they? And they've got 8 arms on them here. This 8 is very significant. We'll talk about it later if we have time at the end of the film. Emergency War Powers Act started World War II, started Korea, started war on poverty, started the war on drugs. And if you'll look into the Senate documentation that ended even the Vietnam War, it says the first paragraph, the 1917 Emergency War Powers Act still being in effect, martial law. So what is happening here? All we keep doing is the president keeps just declaring war. There's never been a cessation to the war since 1917.
Keeps commerce.
And so it continues on. There's never been an end to the war. There's only been a war. So, well, Congress has a power to declare war. Well, it did in 1917, and that's the end of it because bankrupt countries cannot declare war.
Can't finance the war.
So what happens? Well, anybody remember what happened there? It always happens October, November. Why? Because that's the end of the fiscal. October, November. It always rolls over. The crash in 29, October, wasn't it? And October, November 1999. Suddenly Bill Clinton said, well, looky here, we've got $5 trillion we never knew we had. Well, where was that hiding? Office of Management and Budget? Treasury? Government Accounting Office? Where did they lose it? $5 trillion. We came out of bankruptcy. And they changed the dollars, if you'll notice.
Clinton took credit for that too, didn't he?
You'll notice that, oops, excuse me, the front of the document, the front of your dollar bills is what color? Oh, pull one out, come on. How many times have you people looked at a dollar bill? Come on, pull one out. I gave you a big hint. Why? It's dead, it's a corporation. What's on the back of it? It's backed with life, isn't it? That's why it's called a greenback, because it's black on the front. It's dead on the front, green on the back. Right? Sure. What's on the right-hand side, guys? Green seal.
Department of the Treasury. That's the creditor side.
Do you know that seal used to be red under Kennedy and under Lincoln? That's probably why they were executed. They didn't bond them to the international bankers. They figured they could print useless money just as easily as anybody else. What's on the left-hand side? The black. What's over here? What does this say on the bottom left of that dollar bill? Treasurer of the United States. The United States is bankrupt.
Bankrupt. It's the debtor.
It's over on the left-hand side, isn't it?
Whenever you see your Internal Revenue Service documents that come and it says Department of the Treasury, notice it doesn't put U.S. It just says Department of the Treasury.
What's it say over on the right-hand side? Secretary of the Treasury. Whose Treasury?
It doesn't say U.S.
Where's the Treasury?
It's the
Who
Crown.
owns the key?
It's the
Who
Crown.
owns the key to the lockbox? Who owns the key to the kingdom? Think about that. There's a little chevron in the middle of a circle there on a shield. That chevron is the same as a, without getting too, I don't want to embarrass the ladies here, but
This is not.
It's
It's not. We're all. male and female gender here on this earth. So,
That's who's running it. It's a phallic symbol. That's a male symbol. The chevron facing the other direction is the female. Anybody recognize that?
Mason.
Yeah.
Look at the Sonic symbol on the Sonic restaurant. It's like that too.
So what they've done is they're using that symbol there.
and look at the target symbol. It's red with a dot in the middle. That's a female symbol.
It's a square and a compass, and it's really the symbol of the male god, who happens to be Zeus or Mercury. And this is the compasses by which he describes the earth, or develops the architecture for the earth. And so this is what we're dealing with here. I'll talk to you more about this later sometime in the future.
Going back to the flag, when the flag, according to what I've learned, and you can check this out, research it for yourself. When the flag is flying, sometimes you see what we call the American flag, and people are hanging it off of a building, and it's hanging straight up and down, vertical. That's the peace position. All right. Now, what I was asking you, the former military man here, is what does it mean whenever it flies horizontal?
Well, this is the symbol, at least we've been told. This is suspension of the Constitution. And you see that in many cases where it's flying in this direction, even in the Congress buildings. We're running this direction.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
That the Constitution has been suspended. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but just think about it when you see it being flown. Is the Constitution really being upheld as the basics of the meeting that they're holding? Over here, you fly this obviously in this direction. It's the symbol of the claim. So you've got this thing flying somewhere on some property. What's it attached to? A stake. What do? You stake a claim, don't you? So they're claiming whatever is under that flag. Whatever you put on top of that flag claims the flag. So if you put a Coca-Cola can up there, well, guess what? But usually there's an eagle up there, and it's usually in gold. And so that eagle takes control over the flag. Where they brag about the one nation under God. Who knows what the highest point in the Capitol is of the United States?
The tip of the Washington Monument.
No. Top of the Capitol building. Who sits on top of the Capitol building? There's a god up there.
Goddess or something.
Mercury. Is that Mercury?
Getting close.
Or Athena?
Yeah.
Semiramis, Columbia, the dove. Yeah.
Any other guesses?
We're all the same.
Her. Persephone.
Hey, that name was in The Matrix.
And
Remember the movie The Matrix? That was the Merovingian's girlfriend. That was her name.
she's wearing the eagle feathers of her father, of Jupiter. Who's the eagle? Jupiter. Who's the owl?
Mercury.
She's the goddess of wisdom. That's why it's a wise old owl. And these things go on and on and on, but they have a totem in the histories of these particular crafts, and this is what they deal with. And these typically come from the mystery religions. And then I'll get out of my way soon.
And then they say once again what the eagle stands for.
It's Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Yeah. This comes from a Greek word.
Nazi Germany also had that eagle, did it not? Or was that a phoenix? Was that a phoenix or an
That
eagle?
wasn't a phoenix, that was double.
Oh, that was double.
Mystery Babylon the Great. What's mystery come from? Mysterion in the Greek, which means to whisper. What are they whispering? The name of the God. That's why God doesn't have a name in this country. We're a nation under God, as you perceive Him. So they made you the creator of God. God as you perceive Him, not as He perceives you.
By the way, go into your Old Testament scriptures in the KJV, the King James Version, Authorized Version, and look up whisperer and see what the scriptures are saying about the word whisperer.
So what is whispered?
People.
It was when you became part of the group. They're pretty open about this. Lincoln Memorial. If you go over there, they'll tell you they're very proud of it. They say it was built on the floor plan of the temple.
I think. Diana. They're in Athens, right?
Ephesus. And the Dianic,
That's right, Ephesus.
the Orphic mysteries were part of the mystery religion. Well, what happened in those temples? Well, you were told secrets. What are part of those secrets? Well, meanings of words. The God, the name of the God was whispered to you. So this doctrine, and then I'll get out of everybody's way here, and I'll close it out later if we have time, on the meanings of words and why and how these crafts have changed the words to deceive you, because without the deception, the fiction can't exist. And once the fiction doesn't exist in the truth, and we exist in the truth, which is the noun,
The present.
once this thing exists, all this goes away. So this is what has happened here. And what is whispered is, Diana used to be baptized in the nude this time of the year at Estra time. Now there's an interesting
That's
little...
Easter.
There's an anomaly, isn't it? There's a name of a pagan goddess
Esther.
from which our word estrogen comes, the female fertility hormone. How did that thing get stuck in Christianity? Anyway, what happened here was she would baptize, then she would march up to the temple about a half a mile. They would have a big procession, and then she would have sex with the highest level of the temple prostitutes. And while they were smeared with a narcotic-laced chrism or an unction, once they were high and flying, then the name of the god was finally given to them, and the mystery or the secrets of that religion were whispered into the ear of these initiates. And so until you got up to the top of that level, you didn't learn the name of the god. So this is a pagan doctrine, and this is what the Jews unfortunately picked up in Babylon. They forgot the name of their father. You know what they call people that don't know the names of their fathers? You can't get an inheritance unless you know the name of your father, and can establish the paperwork that relates you to the father when he leaves you an inheritance, so you can claim that inheritance. Just following? So.
This is excellent. Let's pick this up on the last section. I'll
I'll
pull
finish it
Joe
up
back
with
up
it.
again. To
But-
be continued on this. We're
Right.
going to let Walt